Um, Basically, what we're going to be looking at here is the Alephium built-in functions, because these are kind of important, and I wanted to explain these a little bit more, just in better detail. Understanding these types here that are associated with the Ralph language is extremely important. And I'll say it's close to Rust, but Cheng will tell you it's not. And there is some differences, right? Obviously, it'll try to explain what bytevec is, and like how you can start a bytevec and use a bytevec. So that stuff is actually important in that sense. And you can find addresses there, as it shows right here. Pretty cool stuff. I'm gonna go dark mode because I like dark mode better. You can, go to these addresses right here. Fixed size arrays. These didn't used to be there, but they're excuse me, they are now. So that's cool stuff too. Function signatures, public functions. I think I went over that in a video, but just to summarize that a little bit, there are public functions and there are regular functions which are private, and these can be called outside of the contract, say in another contract, whereas these ones are isolated to the contract. Built-in functions, I think, there's too many here to actually talk about physically, so I can't really talk about all of them, but if I could, I definitely would. So let me just pull up this chat here. So there's a stream chat you guys can use, I guess, for this. So if you guys have any questions, I'll try to put or answer questions that are off that. But basically, any functions that are sending tokens back and forth are all using these contracts right here. So that is kind of the basic premise, I guess. Are going to be giving away some PACA too, by the way. So we can decide how we want to do that, but I do have a little bit in hot wallet, not a lot, probably I don't know, less than 5,000 or something that needs to be given away or used towards something else. So it could be a good time to give it away now. The rest is obviously in the multi-sig, and so I would need to get a draft written up and a proposal to actually move that around for what we would be doing with those funds. And obviously we would never withdraw more than a certain amount. But yeah, so these functions right here are pretty cool though. I think looking at it, caller contract ID, I mean, you pop in the contract and it does exactly what it says, returns the contract ID of the caller. So caller address is one that I use a lot. This returns the address of the caller, and it's extremely helpful because it means that I can fetch your address the second that you click the TX, and I can immediately then use it to send a transaction. I can show that actually though. So yeah, subcontracts, extremely important. The farther down you go in the list, there may or may not be more and more useful things. But there's a lot of conversions here that are nice to know. Contract ID to address, address to contract ID, bytevec to address. If you ever get stuck, usually it's a good place to just hop in here and see if there's a function that would help you out in that case, right? So hopping over to Visual Studio Code now, I can explain the overall flow of contracts and kind of what that looks like a little bit. And then we can move over to discussing PACA and a little bit of the stuff within there, because there are some cool concepts that I would like to mention. I got a list next to me too. So first thing I was going to do was explain the burn contract that I made and how that works, because it's a pretty basic contract and I think it would be a good example. So I'll just change windows here. Alright, so now we're looking at the Visual Studio Code, and I can check out the contract that I made for burning tokens. As you can see, it's not very big at all. And it's this plus a script. So the burn script plus the burn contract gives me what I need. They're named the same because they're in different folders. Otherwise, that normally wouldn't be possible. But my burn script is basically the shorthand form of what I want the contract to do. So you can envision this as a, let's put it like this is the, this is you putting something into the crafting table, and then the burn.ral is like the actual crafting table, right? So yeah, so this is the contract right here, and this defines kind of how it works, right? I can input some values here. These are all executed in scripts, which are in this script. There's nothing here that you guys would need that would be like confidential by any means, so don't worry about that. This is the token ID for tail right here. But anyways, this basically, you know, would actually instantiate that contract that I just made here, because I imported it here, and yeah, there's an event here. That event is called here, which basically emits a signal to the blockchain, which means that I can do some really cool things with. Can you hear any audio? Can you guys not hear things? Oh, they figured it out. Cool, cool, cool. Cool. I've been talking this entire... Oh, don't worry. The stream is totally recorded. So, yeah, if you guys want to check this out, this will be uploaded to YouTube, and people will be able to watch it and kind of get a better overview of what it is that I'm doing here. We mentioned public functions earlier. I can call these in the actual burn script, which is actually the most important thing about these public functions, right? Because I have that marked as a like a public function here, so I have caller address token, but I use this contract right here that I've marked here. So I'm taking the contract name here, and I'm then using it in this, you know, I'm assigning it to contract, and then I'm calling contract.getName, which gets this function here, which returns the token ID, which was instantiated here in the script, which is really cool. And then looking at it, you can even see that there's a value in here called tokens burned. And because I have that value, if I wanted to, I could emit a U256 value, which is similar to this amount value, where on the blockchain it would send a type of flag, really, where if you're running a node, you'd be able to pick up that data and then transport it to like an SQL database, and that's basically how swaps are going to work, right? So we can look at actually the swap contracts too, because I have those as well, and I can explain a little bit about how those work as well, just for those curious. Let's see here. So I think I have it underneath a different branch. Yes, I do. Swaps. All right, cool. So I'll try to explain these the best that I can, obviously. I don't have these on this branch. Actually, I could swap branches, though, I think. Branch. And then, so I can swap branches here, actually, and get that situated here. So let me show that off real quick, because I think that's pretty cool. Looking at these now, everything is going to say it's deleted, but it's still technically there, so it's fine. It's just I have different things I can see now. This is actually where I have a lot of my contracts, but if you look at the scripts, there's a create swap. No, that's not where I wanted it. There it is, swaps. So this is a swap offer right here. Basic premise of how this works is that this is the actual physical swap where you would accept it, or you can cancel a swap. Basically what this will do is you're going to enter in your token offered, the token wanted, in this token swap contract here, which is, well, the same. It's different because what this does is it actually builds a swap, which builds a swap offer. So token swap builds a swap offer. Swap offer is the actual swap here that we're making, right? So you'd enter in your two tokens that you'd be wanting right here, token offered, token wanted, the amount offer, like the amount of the token you want and the amount of token, you know, wanted. So both on the receiving side and on the end side. And then in terms of accepting that swap, you would fetch the caller address, and then you would transfer the tokens from from the creator getting paid first, and then the user gets paid next. I have to do a little bit more of the logistics on that and how that's going to work, but I think once I call like assert statements to check to make sure that they have the funds, which basically looks something like this, it would just be like an assert, and then like you would type in like, hey, does, I take caller's address and I make sure that they have, the funds there necessary, right? And so if they don't get past that, they don't get past it at all. But whatever's in this contract gets executed once it's confirmed. So if there was an error in the contract, it would never actually go fully through, and your funds would be entirely safe the entire time, right? So once they actually jump into the contract and the contract executes, it will execute everything in the contract, right? There's no way to get, only part of the contract executed and then not finish the rest of the way through. One of the cool things I like about Alpha, I think, but that's the same on like most blockchains, right? I just like the programming language on Alpha a lot better. Ralph is killer programming language. It's absolutely amazing. So yeah. So from there we take our wanted minus wanted, offered minus offered. Not really necessary, but it's just something I have there, because you can omit that in event and then make sure that you can update that on your SQL databases. Which could be part of a system where I do it where you could do partial fill orders. So a person could be requesting tokens, but they could partially fill. I think that would be like a totally different swap. I think I'd have to make. But I think in that essence, there could be something cool there that could be built, and I think that could be cool, right? Partially filled swaps. Now we're talking about like DEX type stuff. It's not really P2P anymore, but partially filling a swap or an offer is something that I think you could select as like a toggle option. Like, hey, I would like this to be potentially partially filled. And so providing that the tokens are still there, I'll have to assign them a ratio. Or maybe you would select that yourself. You'd be like, hey, I want to sell, I want to do a P2P swap of, 50 OG ALF, and I'm taking the ratio of 1 ALF every, for every OG ALF, I'm wanting, 10 Alephium, right? And so a person could partially fill that swap, potentially, and then, the swap will still exist. It will actually cease to exist once it reaches 0, right? And then from there, we can do a lot of those things because, like I'm pointing at here with the wanted and the offered statement here, I can actually make it so that way once that token value reaches 0, I can then emit an event, and that takes the SQL contract and it removes it off the site, meaning that you can no longer call it. So I think that is pretty cool. And just to get technically out of the weeds now, because I kind of have explained that burn contract, I think, at least. Let me move back to my main branch. So these can go away now. Explain this a little bit more in depth, basically. So pre-approved assets, true, because we're getting the assets that we put in the token ID, and then we are, getting that caller. We're using the burn token function, which we found on the Alephium documentation website, and then we're getting those tokens burned, equaling tokens burned plus amount, which is an amount that we can emit as a SQL event or a query event or anything that we have a node right next to us. We can pull that and then put it on the database, and completely revolutionary technology, right? So yeah, so I've covered the burn contract, covered the explanation. I do have some PACA to give away. Let me check exactly how much I have to give away real quick, and then we can move from there and everything. That's cool, right? So let me just check how much I have that I can give away right now. And you just put your address in chat and I'll send it. So yeah, I've got like 2K to give away right now. So we'll just do like 500 each or so. But yeah, super stoked about this. Let's get it bumping, right? Oh, and somebody sent me my ape that they minted. Crazy stuff. Thanks whoever sent that. I'll actually hit them back with some PACA because yeah, that's the right thing to do, right? Yeah, let me hit him back with some PACA real quick. That's what I do, right? Hit him back with some PACA. I got some Vlad too. I guess I could hit him back with. Yeah, Vlad's crazy token, guys. Crazy token Vlad it is. I just, oh, that could be a whole saying right there. Vlad it is. That's cool. Kind of like glad it is. Hold on. Let me figure out what address this PACA's on. It's on one of these addresses. There we go. We'll pop over him some PACA. And cool. So, whoever gave me the ape just got 500 PACA. Cool stuff, cool stuff, cool stuff. So, yeah. So, I don't know if there's really any questions here, but just talking about kind of a little bit of the overview, because I do have some of that stuff that I can mention. Let me just check chat real quick. Yeah, if you guys want to put your addresses in chat for like 500 PACA, then we'll just do that. And obviously, I have thought about bringing open the faucet again, but because we're listed on the DEX now, it just makes sense. I don't know what the transaction fee cost is. Actually, if the TX gas fee was more than what the price of the token was on the DEX, then I would consider it, just because that would level out things a little bit. But until then, it just makes sense to just leave it on the DEX and just let that play out. And obviously the rest of it, we have, you know, quite a bit that we can use there, with there being such a large supply of it. So rather than actually making a game token, I think we'll just, you know, cut all the BS and we'll just make a fully fledged PACA token, which will be the same token in the game. So yeah, I can explain some of these concepts, I guess, in a little bit better detail with Excalibur. If you don't know what that software is, very, very cool software, by the way. Super, super recommend. Yep, and spam. So I can explain this right here. Let's see here real quick. There it is. Cool. So now you guys are able to see Excalibur, which it says it's changing in 1440p, but it should be 1080 maybe. Alright, whatever. Doesn't matter. So yeah. So the building bridge of PACA really is PACA, and don't take this as like the word or kind of the way that we want to do things, but this is kind of how I'm envisioning it to go down, right? We have alpacas, and from here we have the NFT line, which is the NFTs, which are, by the way, on the way. Just had a whole script building session today to get that working. So I got all the traits organized and whatnot, and now I just need to get it on a Linux system because apparently Node.js won't run on whatever hardware Mac OS and Windows has. So it's going to have to be ran on Ubuntu probably for whatever reason. So I'll have to make a VM for that and then git clone it, but mostly done there. 60 mint price, by the way. Pretty cool stuff. And then here we have the actual token, which works kind of synchronously with PACA, because what I plan to do is if we don't have a game token, I plan to make it so that way we have staking, right? So the more NFTs you own, the more PACA you shall receive, kind of in that sense, right? It's not, you know, an idea that I've fully fleshed out, but it's an idea that I'm considering and looking at. Obviously, I love proof of work to death, but bridging a NFT with a token makes kind of sense. On the contrary, rewarding users for you know, a future game also is important as well. So looking at the game, the outlook there is kind of the similar. Asset is used natively here. However, one major difference here would be is that while I was thinking that we would handle it like this, I think that the game will actually be open to, if not like everybody, owning a PACA will just give you exclusive benefits that other people might not be able to have in the game. That won't be game breaking by any means, but it'll be like a collectible figure that you can have in the game while also being able to incentivize an economy around a game like that with data that players would actually, you'd put in a little bit of alpha and you'd get your player data profile, and then we would monetize that player data as an NFT. That NFT would mark your spot in a database and would be updated. Basically, you owning that NFT would give you access to the database, and then you could be able to sell your NFT, which would be selling all your progress on the game, which I think is something cool to play around with if we decide to go down that route. But that's quite a ways away here. And obviously NFT space is both a collectible and obviously, like I said, staking could or could not be a theory there. I just need to play around with it a little bit more and think about the economics of it and how that would work really. The priorities for now are on swaps and on alpacas. I want to get a burn minter set up on the actual site. That way people can use the site and burn tokens. I also thought about images minting. What is it? Just to prepare us for potentially doing anything advanced with NFTs. Minting singular images, kind of like they have on the Alpaca testnet, would be something cool that I would like to try, and we would definitely be able to do that from an SQL. I mean, once we have a database set up, we can start just building out things like crazy. So really, it's going to come down to a little mini PC, SQL server, and a Alephium node running, and from there, it's open rain, right? We're making queries to the blockchain, looking for those little pings that we're looking for, and actually not even that. The people using the site are the people who are going to be querying that data, so they're going to be pulling it, pushing it, and then we're going to be pulling that from a functional piece of code, and then ba-bam, right? And then the database updates, and you refresh the site, and bam, it's there. So yeah, there's a lot to take in here, and I won't hold you guys too long. Probably just like 4 or 5 more minutes or so, but I think this stuff is really cool, and while I don't while I do get distracted sometimes and start side projects like working on token burner, which we really didn't even need, it's important to be able to build up these utilities while the community is small, because if these utilities aren't built, then people who are coming onto the chain just are not going to be able to appreciate what we have, right? So yeah, for sure. I have a mini PC like that already, so probably just gonna get a duplicate, honestly, something like that, and that'll run everything that we needed to. Not super worried about the costs there. Definitely will have the money to put that forth. And of course, it's going towards potentially multiple different streams, as well as just building kind of everything out, right? So that would allow us full access to a node without any compromises, and I personally would be super psyched for that. So yeah, and then yeah, no one would even need to have access to the well, no, it doesn't really matter, it's good. Yeah, those PCs are pretty nice. But yeah, no, building up these utilities is important, because if you come to a chain and no one's building, and everything is economically incentivized, you're just not going to want to be on that chain, because there's no real initiative and there's no real progress being made. So having a token burner for people is part of onboarding a new users onto Alephium and giving them the utilities that they need to actually continue to be on the chain and continue to interact with these DApps, because really these interactions are all DApp transactions using smart contracts, and that is incredibly important technology. especially because we don't just want TXs sent from person to person. That's not the point. We want to have, you know, people interacting with the apps, interacting, you know, decentralized with other people through contracts, token swaps, dexes, NFTs, gaming, you know, social media, you know, tipping. We want to have all the different stuff. We all want to build on blockchain to create, you know, a better and more decentralized system there for people to actually be able to use and interact with, right? Man, I'm talking a lot and it's exhausting for my voice, but this is all good information that need to be said and gives people, I think, a better overall view of, you know, what the future looks like for alpacas and what I think the future looks like for Alephium. I just think it's very, very cool to be developing in this space and being able to see all this stuff happen real time, and just, you know, super, super cool stuff. And like I said, not all these projects are, you know, economically incentivized, but I think they are important to the actual ecosystem and the actual space. Focusing on the more economicalized things, if that's even a word. Yeah, token swaps going to be a big hitter, I think, because OGL Dex just not really working out. So we'll be excited to see how that works, because that's technically an on-chain kind of DEX almost, like a trading pool swap type deal, because people will be able to place orders, which makes me think that maybe there's a way to do it like that. However, like I said, we would need to be doing fractional shares, and that can be complicated, cannot be complicated. It doesn't, not super, you know, experienced in that space, but I could maybe look into that, and then we could take token swap idea and have it super basic. So for sure, yes, Elvis, we are definitely getting you your PACA rolling around. He's actually completely ready, probably to be minted. Actually, I could mint him in like 2 seconds probably. But yeah, so yeah, token swaps, and then from there we can discuss. I want to try to have a prototype of that built by the end of this month, so I got to get a node synced up and I got to get that running. And so yeah, token swaps, then we can look at a actual on-chain DEX and like thing, and Elvis can get his cool TA charts going there and look at stuff. I don't even know how to implement any of that, so that'll have to be a CSS lesson on itself, or whatever math algorithm it is to track that. It comes down to events. All these emit statements I was showing are just super crucial to building anything that you need. So yeah. Getting a question from Reed here. I found the Ralph error message is a bit confusing / unclear. Also, the front end side of all the docs seem mainly focused on contract interaction from the viewpoint of if I deployed the contracts, interacting with third-party contracts seem more complicated than it should be. No specific issues currently, but I think where I found most challenging getting started. So, the Ralph error messages spit out a lot more than they should actually, and Reed isn't in here watching this obviously, but if he does, he can watch the recorded video, and this part can be for him specifically. It spits out a lot more than it should, right? And on the front end side, all the docs seem mainly focused on contract interaction viewpoint. If I deploy the contracts, interacting with third-party contracts seem more complicated than it should be. I don't know if you mean like interacting with AN contracts. You'd need to have the emit codes and stuff like that. If you're talking about just you know, building like a token contract and then instantiating more tokens, that in itself is super complicated, at least conceptually. But I think if the two are just laid out side by side rather than everything else, I think the code gets kind of jumbled, and I think it's easily fixed there. So yeah, Ralph error messages, I could do a whole video on that, honestly. We could definitely do a video on that. That'll be another video that we'll do. But yeah, I hope this stream has been super cool for you guys. But still no audio, but still, did feed end? Did the feed end? Mine was muted on a separate page. I don't know, is the feed still not, is it not working now? Or is something, it shows that I'm talking, so I don't think there's any problems. Weird. Yeah, no. Yeah, we'll stop here because it's 9:30. But yeah, I hope this was informational for you guys and helpful, and this will get posted to YouTube, and hopefully this remains helpful for other people who want to either build on Alpha or are considering looking at alpacas and what we have to offer, as well as I want to show off my dev progress and showing that I am everything I hype up to be, I guess. I mean, I'm not a crazy dev, but I definitely think I have the capabilities to scale out these systems, especially providing the fact that I'm going to school and learning databases, and that is all coming in handy more than you would believe. So have a good night, and I'll see you guys in Discord probably. Yep, that's where I'll see you guys. Yep, peace.